right, back in the cave again. Decided we had to shut down the fishing thing. It was getting a little out of hand. We were kind of laughing at each other in a way. It's like, we're chasing that high. We're chasing that high. That high of feeling that fish hitting the fishing rod. You know, it's exciting. If you anglers know what I'm talking about. But I think we went 12 hours the other day. 12 hours total one day. That's a charter and a half. And you're on your feet on concrete casting those rods nonstop. Kind of got beat up and then got up at 5 o'clock the next morning. Did it again for 8 hours. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, survived ourselves. And I'm back here to get more voices heard, share some truth. And what else? I had a quick couple thoughts before we get going. All right, because I started to record yesterday on that pier when Sarah went to her exercise class, which is only like straight up the street. And then I got cut short, and I got back to the shop here, and the excavator gravel truck was right there, and I just had enough. I was too tired, and I gave up. So I'll probably add that on to the end of this, all right? After I'm done in here, I'll tack on that, and you can watch that too and listen to, all right? I don't even remember what I talked about yesterday. Got some voices heard, though. But anyway, it's nonstop. Quick side note on the mainstream anywhere, it's nonstop. A lot of financial analysts have been talking and screaming out the warnings nonstop with the ramping up about the American dollar is about to tank. The economy's about to tank. It's going to be the biggest crash since 1929 or something, on and on and on. And what I'm curious about is, like I get all my information from the people, I am curious to know what is going on. I don't care where you are, what country you are in, what state, what province, anything, doesn't matter. Wherever you are you seeing signs of your economy hitting the ground? Are you in trouble? Are you hurting because of all this crap? I'd like to know from the people instead of just a bunch of analysts sparking off the same thing. But I do know for a fact, the worse things get, the higher gold goes, and gold's been going crazy lately. If you have any of that shit. Anyway, what's going on with all of you out there? Are you being negatively affected by the economy no matter where you are right now? I'm curious to know. All right? What else? I think that's about it for right now. I had a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to mention before I got in here, and of course my brain's going flatline. I'm not even quite awake yet. Whoa, coffee's hot. Still waiting on this stupid part for my truck. Some electrode thing that controls everything. Gas gauge, speedometer, taillights, all in one little electrode thingy package. And it's hard to find apparently, but one's on the way. So I'm just hanging hostage at home waiting for that. Anyway. Let's get into it. We have an email from our friend, Mr. Duval, who's written in a lot, knows a lot, looked into this topic for many years and more. He sent it in a lengthy email, so I'm going to dive right into it. Do I know what's in here? Nope. Haven't a clue. But it's titled, Mr. Ash's Diaries. I emailed that man, no reply yet. And I believe I emailed his cousin too, didn't I? No replies yet. Maybe I did something bad. Read this slowly if you decide to share it. When you speed up, the listener's mind cannot pull the picture together. Slow it down, please. Okie dokie. Steve. I'm kidding, man. I'm just messing with you. All right, I'll slow her down. Here we go. Steve, there is so much to say here. The native people are definitely in high regard with their understanding of the Sabe. Remember that there is a history associated with all of this that the natives probably aren't going to study because they have their own history that is handed down, as are the histories of all cultures globally. The natives have no reason to go and understand the other histories, as theirs is to them the most true and understandable. Their history is all that matters, and their history and their understanding of the world and its spiritual components is much more developed and true than most cultures of the white people. Yeah, and our history is definitely twisted, right? I think I'm falling a little more swinging over to the other side of just trying to figure out our shit lately. I probably know more about the Sasquatch Sabe people than I do my own people right at this stage of the game. With the white, with the white people, we have had intercession that goes back thousands of years that has intentionally altered our natural perceptions of the spiritual world and our history, in essence making us slaves to the narratives and keeping us disassociated from the hidden knowledge and connection. Our understanding of who we are was hijacked, and we are kept from knowing. Ash's story of the grave desecration bears that out without even a drop of doubt. Our history that we are allowed is a big effing lie. And of all the differences between us and the true natives who continue to host their past, that disconnection with our true past and our true spirituality are the most important. Not all whites are disassociated, but the ones who are naturally drawn to who they are and what their natural capabilities are, who explore and develop those, are ridiculed and shunned by the narrative, by the acceptable, quote, social norms, end quote. Yes, it becomes easy to see what is happening. The why part is difficult for most to grasp because it requires shattering currently held whole paradigms. Our idea of who and what we really are, what our history actually is, how we ended up in this condition, where to go to get answers, and how to assimilate those ideas, because most of them go down like really bad medicine. Why have I taken 30 years out of my life working on this? Because it is very difficult. It's a very difficult journey, and the ideas don't just snap into place. I fought most of them. I had to learn to let go of very deeply rooted ideas, my own personal paradigms, and allow the real truth to speak without me or anyone else getting in the way. Let history actually speak without ourselves or anyone else shouting over it. That is not easy. Before I go further into this discussion, I need you to grasp something extremely critical. We are not the Sabe, and they are not us. We share very little. Our genetics are from different worlds, different realms. The genetics we share, mitochondrial DNA, have more to do with survival at the cellular level than anything else, converting earthly food to energy that each cell needs to survive and thrive. Outside of that commonality, we share next to nothing. We are not genetic cousins at all. Our nuclear DNA, which truly defines us and determines everything about us physically inherited over millennia, is worlds apart from the Sabe. This is a critical distinction to make and keep. Otherwise, when we compare them to us in trying to understand who we really are, we conflate us with them, or we project backwards thinking we could have and do what they have and do. We project their crazy capabilities back to ourselves, wondering what happened to those abilities we once had. We never had most of them, and we never will. And I assure you, that condition will never happen. Do we have capabilities beyond what we are currently allowed to know by social pressure? Yes, but our set of capabilities is different from those which the Sabe hold. Not all have them. It varies. But they are overall far more advanced in those regards than we are. And in other ways, we are far more advanced than they are, or will ever be. We are different. It was meant to be that way. They are not us, and we are not them. Your text in some of your videos alludes to the idea that we have a lot in common, both genetically and because we're both peoples. My short and perhaps terse response to that is nope. Please do not conflate what they have with what we have. We have mostly lost our connection and understanding of who we actually are through millennia of control, keeping us distant from our true selves. That was intentional, and it goes straight to the heart of the realm problem that Sabe have mentioned many times. You have forgotten who you are. Those who have been preventing us from that connection to our past and to ourselves for millennia have done it for a very specific reason. That reason is absolutely ties to religious institutions of the world, but mostly the West. They are not what they want us to think they are. The Sabe is not one type, but many. They probably do not all share common origins, as in the time and place of who was involved. And as you were reading the email sent in regarding Ash's diaries, you got into a bunch of pretty heady topics that need to be explored separately. It's a rat's nest of ideas and discussions, and I won't be able to address every detail here, but I want to convey some explanatory concepts that have become quite clear to me over the time I have been looking into this. The first idea is that of the star people. This is a term used by cultures all over the world and refers to those who come here from what we call space or in the heavens. Some of them have conveyed to people in their past where they are from, and these are verifiable locations. This has also happened in the more recent abduction cases where origins are explained. Maps are drawn, and those stars and planets are identifiable through current tools and knowledge of astronomy. The star people are not from here. They seem to have a vested interest in what goes on here to one degree or another. It might be strictly their interests served, or ours, or both. Cultures around the world have both oral and written accounts of these meetings. Some are depicted in rock art. The sky people are not one species or race from one location. They have a common name due to the fact that they are from somewhere else, but their agendas are not proven to be aligned. Do they work together in some sort of a pact? Is there a so-called federation? If anyone knows it, that I'm aware of it, has not been appropriately shared or proven by any means. Governments might know, but that's giving those lying institutions a lot of credit. Do they have an agreement with one or more of these off-Earth cultures? It is a popular notion that has yet to be proven. Are there negative implications of cooperation with any of those off-Earth cultures? Absolutely. My view on this is that until we know, we don't. We don't have trust in our governments now with good reason. We just need to be careful. Some have been depicted as good and others not so much. This brings us to something I've seen over and over. The Sabe, who generally reside here, do not like the star people. They dread the appearance of the star people, and Sabe know when they come. You get some sort of advance warning or message and express dread. They seem to have to answer to them, like they are the leaders. Other Sabe who also seem to answer to them are with the star people when they come in craft, and some of them are deposited here. It can be from craft, as has been witnessed and documented, or has also been witnessed and often misinterpreted as UFO related. They appear to jump through to the ground what look like portals. The Sabe, who are here generally, as a matter of course or choice, act like and have conveyed to humans that it is a big inconvenience when the star people show up. They seem to not like the expectations and tasks placed onto them when the star people arrive and the Sabe are meeting with them as expected. One can get a lot out of this concept. Who are the star people? Are they related to any of the ancients that are part of our undisclosed history the institutions keep us from knowing? Are they the fallen ones or the watchers or the angels? Exactly which history is related to other histories? Is Mesopotamian history related to Egyptian history? Are they related to what we think as biblical history? In what ways are they related? And in what ways are they different? Do the stories overlap like they seem to with other cultural histories? People from above are in all of these cultural and written histories. Are they related to what we see today? And are they the same ones coming here to meet with Sabe? What roles the Sabe play in our history? Does it affect us directly? What about the other hybrids that have animal genetics in them? Are they also part of this story of interplay in history? Some are not from here genetically, but were probably created here, while others weren't created specifically on this planet. And then there is the real possibility that our scientists have become involved in this mess also, creating hybrids since the capture of the Kandahar giant. I packed a lot into that last paragraph. I suggest that you get familiar with what I implied there. Our history cannot be so fractured as to be completely unrelated events happening completely independently in parts of the world that are not that far apart geographically at or nearly at the same time periods. It becomes improbable to impossible somewhere in that spread. This idea that we have such a fractured and unidentifiable / unknowable history is an idea maintained by the same institutions that keep us from knowing ourselves. Many call it myth and legend. How convenient. How lazy. Let's talk about the energy aspect of human Sabe and the universe as we call it. We have all of these sciences, many different separate disciplines. Some are considered fringe, while others are legitimate. We call what often happens without explanation between two people consciousness. Science studies quantum physics because these ideas cannot be without definition and probability mathematically and empirically. Anything that does not or cannot be explained using current tools is often written off as hogwash and scoffed at by these brainiacs. Give me a break. All my life I've been working with and against these types. Some of them are not very mature at all and cannot take constructive criticism or allow themselves to engage in these absolutely necessary discussions based on real and provable examples. My take is we live in a sea of this thing we call consciousness, and some are not all aware of it, while others are so tuned in that they can't separate themselves from it and or sort themselves from it. Cannot be in that crazy environment because it is chaos, and humans don't handle that very well. Others frame it or compartmentalize it and use it as a tool. Some are keenly aware of their proclivities and capabilities to utilize it to do the things we're capable of, but have either forgotten or been programmed to avoid it altogether. It can be learned for most of us. For some, it is a curse, and once learned, it can lead to terrible consequences. In this regard, humans are not. Excuse me, I'm drinking coffee. Excuse me. In this regard, humans are not homogeneous. The CIA has a remote viewing program and has for probably 5 decades. It is a tool of intelligence. It can provide pretty incredible information and insights through space and time. Yes, it does not have to be in the present time. It becomes obvious why a dogmatic scientific approach and explanations are having difficulty explaining all this. It becomes apparent that just because science cannot explain something or define it, doesn't at all mean that the matter is illegitimate. Science should never be seen as the last word on anything. No shit. It is so far behind the curve. Humans understand without having to define it mathematically. That is just a language, and it is primitive compared to our intuitions. So we are in the sea of consciousness. We are more or less connected to everything. We either tap into it consciously or not, or we do and are not aware of it, or see it for what it is. Now understand that Sabe used this same medium. In my own personal estimate, I would say that, given what I've learned through the thousands of told experiences of others, as well as my own, and that is pretty extensive at this point, I know the Sabe taps into some energy that goes way beyond anything that we do. The amount of energy they can directly expend to uproot trees, break trees, throw trees, run faster than anything we can imagine, project to us through the medium of consciousness, drain batteries, mess up electronics, instill off-the-charts fear in us, be known by most animals in the natural world, mind speak, initiate momentary paralysis in us, just to name a few, of which about half I have personally experienced. Given that incredible list of energy intensive exercises of capacity, it becomes obvious that they are not working with the same energy sources we are, other than the cellular energies which we share in common. But there is some other source to their energy, and that can and probably does get projected into the sea of consciousness, and because we are in close proximity at that moment, we become recipients of it. For many of us, it is a big energy difference, and we immediately know it. My neural system is hypersensitive. When I go under high-tension power lines in a car, I cannot wait to get out of there. It usually takes hundreds of feet of separation to relieve the pressure and uncomfortable feeling. Call me weird, but that's my reality I live with. When I'm around Sabe, I get overwhelmed by their energy pretty easily. This has happened to me multiple times. I instantly get vertigo, once so deeply that I had to give my car keys to my wife, and she had to drive me 2 miles home. It lasted for almost 4 hours. It was the second time that day, and they projected energy at me. I'm not going to speculate on whether it is infrasound or what, because no one that I'm aware of has recorded an event to prove or disprove that notion. Many people have experienced vertigo while around the Sabe. Are electromagnetic fields involved? Probably of some sort. Can the typical electrical engineer explain it? I doubt the average quantum physics scientist can. When the CIA runs these remote viewing programs, they don't know how it works. They are only interested in the information gleaned. They know how to induce that state in people, the protocol, but they don't know how it works. It goes across both space and time. People remote view both future and past events. Don't think about that too hard or you'll blow your brain circuit breakers. I've had to reset or replace mine many times. They have had people remote view on other planets. Don't think about it too much. Yes, many of these were done with foreknowledge of the results to see if this viewing was accurate. They saw something mapped by satellites and just gave the planet coordinates to the viewer, and the viewer gave them the information they saw or viewed. Verification comes in many forms. The CIA wouldn't rely on it unless verified. The U.S. is not by any means the only country to employ these intelligence methods. The Sabe are probably not a natural being born on this planet under natural circumstances. They do not share earthly DNA other than that which was added. Many want to place them as the original people of this planet. Maybe the Sabe convey this narrative. I don't know where it comes from. This planet and the DNA types on it are pretty consistent. Sabe is the anomaly. So are the animal hybrids like Dogman. When we test a giant, we will know whether Sabe is genetically connected to them. I speculate openly, but I also call it speculation. My speculation based on what we know so far is that the giants carry the DNA of at least one group of the star people, or what our history refers to as the fallen ones. And that DNA finds its way to Sabe, and the hybrids that have earthly animal genetics also spliced in. I'm pretty certain without having seen the actual test results, but by being in touch with the person doing the analysis, that our human mitochondrial DNA got inserted and is present in all, including the giants. Sabe has it, and so does Dogman. I've not seen the actual data, but I trust the source. It is highly unlikely that the fallen ones have our mitochondrial DNA. So, that makes these other creations dependent on human DNA for survival here on Earth. That's my learned and projected assessment ahead of the proof. Could I be wrong? Yes, absolutely. But my confidence is high at this point. And it is that way because the DNA work is reflective of what is said in the historical records. It is uncanny how it matches up. It is bizarre. After 20 years of no answers and a lot of digging that did not yield plausible results, but rather this pile of seemingly uncorrelated and disconnected and weird stuff, suddenly by understanding Sabe by research, it is all coming together. The history, the DNA, the story told of how all this happened. I'm only the one taking what was already written and placing, as others before me have. The DNA work with this crazy historical record, often referred to as myth. You would not believe the number of people of all stripes looking at this today, and some of these people are world-renowned experts. The last person I would expect anyone to believe is me. I'm just someone who kept asking questions and looking for answers. By no means am I an expert on the history. I leave that to those who put the time in and are trusted so much they have worked for entities like the Vatican. They know the old records to the degree that I don't even want to know them. I am taking my journey and my insights and writing it down. I am employing the expertise of those who are working tirelessly on these matters despite the odds against them and the very real backlash. I'm just conveying ideas that are getting verified by the records, those who brought them out in true form, and the application of science methods like DNA analysis that is confirming what those records say. The giants not only were real, but they are real. They still exist in certain parts of the world, and as for the rest of the hybrids, we all know there. The records say how they got here. We know the star people exist. It is becoming apparent that not all of those who look like Sabe are the same, share common origins or origin locations. And that is likely that both, on the part of those coming here from what we call space, are of different agendas, as are the hybrids working here or just living here. This is a crucial article. The Diary of the Native Man Ash is the key to this writing. And Steve brings all of this free of charge to all those interested and to those who absolutely need to be in a community where they are understood. Because it sure as hell isn't happening in the construct of the world with its governments, religions, and the realm of science and the holders of ancient knowledge. The secret societies and their ilk. They're like... My expectation has always been to learn about it without their inclusion. The further away from them I get, the more clear the picture becomes. To add nonsense to the whole thing, it's looking like we are involved in these genetics developments as well, as if that needed to happen. I don't have proof, but I've had all kinds of information come my way, and the prosaic of it all points directly to that. We need to take care of our own before doing this other crap. It's a bad sign. There you go. There you go, you guys. There you go. There's a lot to chew on there, but there's a lot that makes sense in there. A lot. Whether you have anything in there you want to take from or leave it is up to you, but I'm not sure if I know anybody at this stage of the game who's looked deeper and longer in the subject than our friend here, Mr. Duvall. What do you think? Throw down the comment section below, you guys. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah, my eyes are watering. I think I got sunburnt staring into the sun the whole day on the water the other day and forgot my sunglasses again. But anyway, there's a lot going on, isn't there? There's a lot going on. The governments, I have just a quick note. I'm sure you already know my stance on that, but I have absolutely zero respect for the governments, the people who combined make up the governments of the world currently. As far as I'm concerned, those faces, I don't see intelligence in any of them. None of them. Smart people do not get into politics. Right? Prove me wrong. And from what I've been observing and watching around the globe lately when I have time, the faces that have been presented to us as being government aren't in control of shit. Right? Prove me wrong. But anyway, there you go. Much appreciated, sir, that email from you. And you generously sharing what you've discovered and continue to discover. And I hope you continue to knowledge drop here to the people through me. We have a fair reach here, don't we? And we definitely have one thing for certain. We've made this place that I've created with all of you. This is made to, this is all about the people, right? Can't deny that one. It's all about the people here. But where do you go with all this? Where do you go with all this information? You know what I mean? Like, as we dig, and I dig and learn and get freaked out often, I make sure that I make sure that at the same time I make sure I enjoy this lifetime, right? I see and appreciate the beauty, the good people, the relationships, the friendships, the interactions of everyone here, doing what I love to do, making sure I encourage people to do what they love to do and share truth and not be scared. This lifetime is so short. What I'm saying is, diving into and looking for truth is very time consuming. It's rewarding in some ways and it's a big letdown in others, right? So you have to do everything in healthy proportions. You know what I mean? To not get lost and angry and carry yourself frustrated every day. So you have to ground yourself out. Take those shoes off. Put your feet in the dirt and the grass. Go hug a tree. Do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Hug a horse. That works for me too. And but just make sure you enjoy this lifetime the best you can and encourage others to at the same time as much as you can. And look for truth. And expose dirtbags. And share truth. And continue to help buck against this dark force that is absolutely turning shit upside down nonstop. You know what I mean? I'm babbling. My brain's scrambling, as it should be, but anyway. Give me a minute. It sure is amazing that there is a group of individuals on this planet who are in such massive control and they have remained hidden so well. Or have they? With what they've got going on, what they've been doing. Isn't it amazing? I mean, obviously they rely on the labor of humans to do whatever it is they are doing, and whoever it is they are. They rely on the labor of humans, right? And that goes back to that little thought in the back of the on that shelf in the back of the head when that professional military man contacted me in the sly and said flat out that he was told, quote, "The government does not care about anything but control of the labor to appease the entity." You know, he told me that throughout his 5 careers, that one sentence from that government military lawyer, tormented his mind for years, trying to figure out who and what the entity is. And he didn't have an answer either. And then he's passed that one on to me, and I guess I passed that on to a bunch of you too, right? What a crazy frickin' lifetime this is. Anyway. Got another quick thought, unrelated, sort of, just on the dark energies wreaking havoc on the face of the planet. It's nonstop. There's people protesting all around the world. People are angry everywhere right now. I've never seen so many angry people in my life. Time to date, angry and frustrated human beings are just everywhere. But it's the protesting thing that really confuses the shit out of me. Even the terrorist attacks that confuses the shit out of me. I just don't understand it. You know, I'm starting to see the majority of protests of being examples of not being too smart as a human being. Now, before you blow a gasket, hear me out. Okay, it's those dark individuals who make up government. They're easy to find. You know their names. It's not too hard to find out where they live. Why are the protesters not protesting them directly around their homes, around their workplaces? I don't get it. I'm sure there's protests in government buildings, but do you know what I mean with the intensity? And instead, it seems to me it's almost maybe potentially people are conditioned to do this intentionally, which is to disrupt society amongst yourselves because you're frustrated with this group of people over here that are annihilating your quality of life. That to me is a sign of absolute smart as a pickle. You can't stop your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers from going to work or going to the hospital by laying down on a highway and making a difference. It's proven that doesn't do shit. You need to go after the source. Protest the source. Disrupt the lives of the source. Make it difficult for the source to do what they're doing. Not your neighbors. Not those innocent people driving down the road. They just got to go to work. If they're late, they're going to get fired. They have to pick up their kid. And people are attacking their vehicles because they really need to get through and get this done. Smart as a pickle. You're not smart. You're not smart. You're dumb as a frickin' bag of shit. You want to make a difference in this world, you go after the source of the problem. You don't create more problems. You go after the source. That's what smart people would do. But the source has the majority of people conditioned to not go after them, to go after each other. It's so easy to see for some. For me, it's like terrorists. Terrorists are mad at governments of various countries for coming onto their land and blowing people up and killing people and stealing resources. So what do? They drop a bomb in a shopping mall or a building. But never the source. The source goes through life scot-free. Not even a scratch, not even a little bit of dirt on their shoes or their family members. Why does nobody point that out? Why does nobody protest the source? Why does nobody bomb the source? If you're a terrorist, you're pissed off at somebody who came and bombed the shit out of your country, go get the source back. You know what I mean? All right, I got my point across. Probably get deleted for encouraging people to go after the source, right? No, we're going to go after the people instead. We're just going to bomb the shit out of the people, kill the people, disrupt the people. We're going to physically attack my neighbor because they're not stopping on the highway because I'm trying to make a difference here. Said a speaking bag of shit. Right? Prove me wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. One more email this morning, and then I will continue. I'll let what I managed to pull off yesterday on the pier finish up after this one. All right, you guys? Yowie, Australia, tagged is the title of this email. Fresh off the pan, out of the pan. G'day, Steve and How to Hunt family. Neil and Sue here. We emailed you our encounter a few years ago, which happened early January 2021, Victoria, Australia, which you read out. So much has happened to us regarding these forest people, I think it's fair to say we have been tagged. 10 days after our encounter, we returned along with my brother. We knew we had to face the fear so it didn't destroy our love for the bush. I'll compress everything as not to turn this email into a book. No incidents on our return to the campsite, we thought. Months later, when reviewing pictures, Sue had taken 2 pictures I believe show 3 beings. I put out trail cams and I learned pretty quick they don't work. Oh, good for you, man. I love hearing that. The part that I love about that is the part where you said, I learned pretty quick. I love that part. We came across half a dozen small trees that were all broken off 6 to 7 feet off the ground. While inspecting them, we heard a very deep growl that rattled our ribs. Months later, while sitting outside having early morning coffee at home, the same growl made our dog to leap out of her bed and stood there looking confused. From there, weird things happened in the house. The bright little orbs would appear. Sue was woken up with me, speaking in tongue to see which describe as like the predator. What? Let me read that sentence one more time. Sue was woken up with me speaking in tongue to see which describe as like the predator. It vanished. She looked at it. That's creepy. We went camping 250 kilometers from home. On the 4th day, Sue found a polished quartz stone where we'd been sitting. Out of place as there was no quartz in the area. Sue made a necklace out of the stone. Now here's where it gets strange. While back at home during a shopping trip, we walked past a spiritual gift shop. signs saying psychic readings. Sue said she has never had a reading before, so I said, go and get one. And at the time, Sue was wearing the necklace she had made hidden under her top. Well, this psychic proceeded to tell Sue all about this stone and how the forest people had gifted it to her for healing and protection. Sue hadn't mentioned the necklace, and I didn't know she had it on. We have moved 4 times in 4 years, and every time we have moved, things have happened. Slaps on the outside of the house. Orbs and big shadows that drift across a room and disappear. The funny thing with all that has happened, it has removed all fear. We still camp at the same area we started. Where this started. Have had that disgusting smell that comes and goes. If they can come to my home, well, it's only fair I can go to theirs. All about having a good heart and respect for the land, natural world. Thank you, Steve, for giving us a safe place and all that have contributed to the truth. There you go. Appreciate you, man. I'm super glad your fear's gone. A little concerned having people just go right into your house. I mean, people say, well, you're going into their home. Well, actually, this whole place is our home. We share the home. We're not going into their bedroom. We're not going into the refrigerator. We're not going to the basement of the Sabe's personal dwelling. Oh, I'm sure somebody's going to shit all over me for saying that now, right? You are too. The second you go into the forest, you don't know that's not their kitchen. Well, what do you do? What do you do? Anyway, I'm going to get moving. I got a lot to do. I'm going to go, before it gets too hot out there, I'm going to go trim up some horse feet and get some other things done. My brain's got lots to munch on today. Well, every day, actually. And I got to choose wisely what I'm going to put on my phone to listen to while I do horse feet and put the headphones on and listen to somebody speak, and hopefully I'll gain some new knowledge today. Yeah. Lots to think about, right? Lots to think about, you guys. But anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com is where you get your truth shared. I'll see if Sarah might be able to pull off having a guest on here with me later on this evening or something, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. I like doing that. I like hearing from everybody. I need to hear from all the people. I don't give a shit about people who need to be watched. I don't care. I need to hear from all of the people. All right? I need to hear from all the people. Anyway. Here's what I recorded yesterday. The audio is going to be a little different. It was a different camera without a microphone, so I don't even know if it worked out well or not. We'll see right now. So, I'll be back later on. Well, I hope the audio works on this. I think it's working okay. I don't have a microphone on this camera at all. But Sarah and I got up at 5 o'clock again this morning, and we came down here to the pier to cast for salmon for first light. It's fun. She has to go to her exercise class, which is exactly 1 block up the road. And she's there now. So, I'm sitting here, casting for salmon. She had one on a little while ago. It was her last cast before going exercising. She hooked a salmon, of course, lost it. It's crazy how many fish are swimming around behind me. You can see the schools. It's so flat out there behind me this morning. You can see the schools of fish moving along the top. Every once in a while, they're all swarming around, waiting for the rain. There's no rain. There's no rain on the horizon, that's for sure. I don't know when it's going to rain, but they need it. But anyway, I'm going to share an email, then I'm going to get back to casting. Why not, right? It's better than being inside. Probably watch some salmon jump behind me, I'm guessing. What do we got? I'll read a couple. I'll probably finish up in the shop. Alaska resident. Was that a wolf? ? Hi Steve, I've been following your channel for 6 years. Yes, I'm that one that listens but don't write in. I grew up in the bush in the 70s, and I am the 4th generation in my little area, I'll call it. This is a remote place by boat. Grew up with knowing or being warned about Kushtakawand. Kushtakawand, and seen an identified and unidentified creature in the ocean, and had things happen around my cabin. But today, I want to write I am writing in about a wolf on the road system, and I have questions. Okay. My vehicle was in drive, but no foot on the gas pedal. I was following alongside a creek on passenger side of car. It was not near any homes, but main drag was only half a mile away, and I noticed something running up the passenger side mirror. When it reached the passenger door, I stopped my SUV from rolling. This wolf cut in front of my car. First I seen its mane of hair like a lion, and then its rest of top of body. Hair light blonde, very thin, and I could see its skin. Its hair was that thin. When it reached my side of the vehicle in front of me, it threw its head around to look at me. That's when I didn't know what I was looking at. His eyes were too large for his body, the size of 50-cent pieces. His nose was long and skinny for a dog's face, but what startled me the most was it had a shit-eating grin. The sides of his face had those dog smiles, but everything on his face wasn't proportionate. I was kind of shocked at this point. All I can say to compare it to was one of those old cartoons back in the day. I kept the vehicle stopped, dazed at what a wolf had just done. Now 15 years later, I have a 100-pound dog. He can look wide-eyed when scared because he's a big baby, but my thoughts, that wolf stood much taller. I had a friend with me that wouldn't believe in Bigfoot, but grew up fishing and hunting out southeast Alaska area. He wouldn't discuss its features with me. What? Huh? Found your channel 6 years ago because I was picking up hunting when I was 40. So I needed any advice I could find. Was I looking at a sick wolf? Do they have manes like a lion with sparse hair? Well, sorry I'm off topic, but it puzzled me. I love the woods and the ocean. I still go hunting regardless of the forest people. They probably watch me for years. I only have a rowboat and a dog for entertainment. Enjoy fishing. I enjoy listening to everyone's experiences and learned a lot. You can use my nickname. Not many know. Icky Uggy. Uggy for short. Icky Uggy. That's a different nickname. Icky. Well, that's a weird description for a wolf, especially if the eyes were too big for proportion. I don't know what you saw, man. I don't know. But we have had a lot of odd mammal type things being seen around North America that closer resemble some kind of a hyena with the mane. And no, wolves don't have manes. Big male wolf can seem to have a big neck, but not a mane. Anyway, that's kind of a different email, isn't it? Different sighting. And I got a long email here. I guess I could try it. Some experiences in New Mexico. Good day, Steve, and greetings from Las Cruces, New Mexico. I've been wanting to share my puzzle pieces, and after listening to True Talk episode 14 with the Arizona 4 Chris Kramer, I must share our stories. I'm a born and raised New Mexican who has had a plethora number of experiences. Not all stories involve Sabe, but I think they all seem to connect with what happens in certain areas of the earth and have commonalities to some that have shared as well. I do believe that what might be strange to us is normal to the Sabe. Growing up as a sensitive empath, I've always been a beacon for activity. I've always heard my name called from voices I can't see. At around the age of 5, after this started, my mother told me to say one of our Catholic prayers every time I heard my name being called. We attributed this to someone on the other side needing some kind of unknown help, and saying a prayer will keep ourselves protected and promote positive direction for those coming to me. I have experienced a lot of activities such as seeing shadows, having pictures fall off the wall. Once we had a ceramic cup thrown off the bathroom vanity after a cousin from Mexico passed away. I've had a flashlight thrown at me when I was the only one in the room. I've had a crow lead me to a horny toad skeleton, and I've had recent conversations with a tree. What? It was my first time feeling a tree's emotion. It was intense. It was a small fraction of what I've experienced in my homes. So beginning my love for the woods and adventures in the desert in my late teens, it was only a matter of time. New Mexico, like other places on this globe, is sacred and very much alive spiritually. The first time something curious happened out in the woods was when my dad and I were hiking on a game trail and came across a mountain lion. As we were crossing a saddle ridge from an east face to the west, his phone dinged and we stopped. While taking a breath and soaking in nature's grace, my eyes drew to the shadow of a bush 5 feet in front of me where I made eye contact with a full-grown mountain lion. It was like it waited to see if I noticed it before I decided to turn like a snake and take 2 loud hops down the mountain. Quick pause for the Francis Barkley to go by. That's a small boat, type of a ferry boat, supplies boat that travels all the way out to Banfield where my boat is. It's a 4 and a half hour trip. They bring supplies out, tourists out. And that ship's an original World War II military vessel. There you go. Where was I? It was like it waited to see if I noticed it before it decided to turn like a snake and take 2 loud hops down the mountain, and just like that, complete silence. It blended into the scrub oak and juniper trees like a ghost in the dust. Curious on the timing of that text message, wouldn't you say? And soon after that, our normal camping spot in the Gila forest introduced us to more than what meets the eye. My dad found what looked like a sabe broken trees pointing in the direction of the Mogollon region. Loud boat behind me. The trees had broken bark that looked like it had been grabbed. About a year later, I found another broken tree, 5 inches in diameter and still green, with grab marks up to 12 feet where the broken half lay, and 2 sets of footprints, one that would swallow my brother-in-law's size 11 work boot. The larger one I would estimate 16 inches and the smaller one about 11, some toe marks as well. In the same campground area, my dad had an experience hiking with his dog. His dog stopped him and stared intently up a short cliff into the sun, but with no concern. Only her attention was grabbed. My dad said he could smell the commonly musky sewage-like wet dog smell. At around this time, my dad was on vacation at Santa Fe walking through a market. While walking and looking around, another man about his size walked into my dad and just stopped and stared with a blank, emotionless face. My dad, trying not to make it a tense situation, jokingly laughed and asked him if he was okay. The man stayed staring. My dad told me as he walked a few more paces, he looked back and the man was in the same spot staring. Later, when he got to the hotel, he noticed 3 dots on his chest between his sternum and nipple. These 3 dots were in about a 1/4 inch triangle and looked like fresh needle pricks. I'm telling you this story because I heard another person who wrote in several months back with a story mentioning 3 dots, but I think it was another part of the body. 10 years later, those dots are still there. That's crazy. The next story is my neighbors. When I moved into my current home in 2016, I began to chat with my neighbor about hunting and camping in the Gila wilderness. There are wilderness units and zones that do not allow motorized vehicles, and hunting is all on foot. He told me of a hunting story with his daughter shooting an elk near Snow Lake here in New Mexico.
They packed what meat they could, then used a Garmin GPS tracker to pin the spot where we put the bagged meat in the trees. The next day they made the hike, and like many others have experienced, the meat was gone. Not a track, not a drag mark, not a trace, absolutely no sign of their outcome. Completely confused, they retraced their steps from their hunt. They found their track where the shot took place, but they found absolutely nothing on the ground showing what happened to their meat or the rest of the carcass. I didn't put it together until years later after listening to you sharing the truth. Some other stories from people close to me. In the mid-'80s, another neighbor and his son were near the town of Mogollon, sleeping in the bed of the truck with a camper shell. He said in the middle of the night they woke up, opened the tailgate, and the camper lid to pee off the truck tailgate, since the ground was wet from heavy rains. And while relieving themselves, a bright light turned on and shone on them like a giant back porch floodlight. The brightness and whiteness was unlike anything he'd ever seen. This light came from what looked like the top of a ridge behind the truck and what he thought was a huge back porch light. There's no sound. He zipped up, went to sleep. A little later he woke up and the light was off. In the morning he noticed the light come from a spot higher on the ridge, basically the sky. He also noted there were no houses or buildings above him, with no vehicle access. In the same town around 2015, my best friend and his wife stopped on the side of the road to enjoy the view. He said they took 2 steps out of the truck. They looked at each other over the hood and they both went back in the truck with an awful, eerie, unwelcome feeling. It was bad enough feeling for them not to want to stick around. Crazy. Not long after that, my dad, was enjoying the view in the passenger seat of the same Mogollon highway while my mom was driving. And out of nowhere, he felt like he was put in a trance and everything in his field of view began to bend and warp like a blanket. After a few seconds of embracing what was happening, he shook it off. Closing his eyes and reopening them to a normal view of the woods, he still remembers it well, and he still brings it up, saying that experience made him believe that there is a lot more out there that we don't understand. Now the adventure I'll never forget. This happened in November 2019 when I joined my now fiancée on a turkey hunt in the same Gila forest. My intentions were to woo her with the mountain man side of me that she hadn't seen. Though I had not begun my new chapter in life of hunting, I'd spent a lot of time in the woods, sometimes up to 7 nights. The Thursday we arrived on was just like any other first day of camping or glamping in the woods, and this was one day prior to her hunt dates. We unloaded the 4-wheelers, unhitched the RV, and went trailing the woods with no electronics, cell service, or lights of any kind. And after an early dinner and bedroom Olympics, we were asleep not long after sundown. At 11:44 p.m. I woke up to the sound of her little dog running across the RV linoleum tile. Classic sound many know of, and I got up and opened the door to let her out. But when I turned the outside light on, I noticed she was still in her dog pillow on the couch. Both her dog and my dog were on the couch and did not get up. My soon-to-be girlfriend asked me if they went outside, and I said, "Look, they're on the couch. Did you hear her?" She interrupted saying, "What? I thought she was at the door." Steve, this isn't the first time I've heard phantom sounds with someone else, so I chalked it up to one of those experiences and I laid back down. Then the madness happened. Before I could fall asleep, she woke up in a panic, hearing her truck beeping as if we hit the unlock button on her key fob, and I didn't hear it. She sat up and saw someone tall walking next to the RV within 10 feet of the window. The moon was about a quarter with very little to see, but she could see a shadow. I jumped up, grabbed the .45, loaded it as I ran out the RV, turning on my flashlight, and switching on the outside floodlights all in one motion. I ran around the RV thinking I could chase this guy, only to come back around to the door of the camper and finding nothing. My dogs are still on the couch. I thought, why are my dogs not alarmed? At this point, I couldn't fall asleep, but she could. And within a few minutes of her falling back asleep, I heard her calling out, "No, no, no." She said she had a dream of a boy trying to drive off with the truck and RV. And I asked, was it a little freckle-faced redhead kid with a gray sweater? Steve, I don't know why or how I asked that, but that question came out of my mouth, and she looked at me like she saw a ghost. No words can describe what it's like to wake up from a quick nightmare to hear the person next to you tell you what you were dreaming. After a few minutes of sitting up in bed in the still of darkness, I knew I had to go to sleep. I wouldn't let fear draw my emotions, so I sat there meditating. And after I laid down and closed my eyes, it hit me like a switch. I heard a concert outside with a loud crowd of people. I could hear the bass from the speakers with laughter. I quickly opened my eyes and sat up, and the sounds went away. I did this 3 times. I laid back, closed my eyes, and the sound got louder. I sat up, it all went away. Only the still darkness. I didn't want to wake her up, so I sat up awake, and then whoosh. The sound of what I can only describe as heavy curtains and fingernails wrapping around the RV siding like a whirlwind. And I knew this wasn't me in my head. And I knew at this point something was out there and it wasn't nice. The concert sounds and whoosh sounds lasted about 5 to 10 minutes. Then she started to call my name in her sleep. Quietly calling my name in an exhale with very little sound behind it, only breath. I woke her up and calmed her down. She told me in her dream we were on a short ridge turkey calling. Then on the other ridge across the draw she saw a dog. A scary looking dog staring right at her. It stood up on its back legs and in smooth motion, antlers stood up on its head and the back of its neck. I didn't say what it was, I didn't want to give it power. I held her hands, and while laying down facing each other, we said our Lord's Prayer out loud. Noisy boats coming by. I kept saying maybe 5 to 7 times. Then it finally got quiet. We slept for a few hours, and the next morning we woke up to her truck not starting. I grabbed her key fob, said the Lord's Prayer, and asked for protection. And just like that, her truck started right up. We tried to shake off what happened that night. We drank her coffee, talked about it very little. She didn't know what it was, and I didn't want to say what it was out loud. We drove a few miles into the woods where she wanted a turkey hunt. We got out of the truck, she grabbed her bow, she drew it back to cycle the draw and check the peep sight. But before she could stow it back, the drawstring popped off the cam. Now that sucks. Without emotion, she put the bow back in the back seat and pulled out her shotgun. November isn't any legal weapon hunt. Well, after she loaded the tube, she racked a shell, and what would you guess? The damn shell got stuck in the slide. She walked away, keeping composure. And there I was at 8,000 feet elevation, miles from anything, tearing down her shotgun with a multi-tool we had in the glove box to unload the live round. We looked at each other and agreed to drive back to camp. On the drive back, there is a ranger station where you could get 1 bar of cell phone service. She decided to call and check in on her family since we had an intense night. I searched for a skinwalker on my phone, and the image came up, the dog with antlers. I showed her the image, and she began to tear up. She said, "That's exactly what was staring at me." We talked it over and decided not to tell our friends who were showing up to camp that night. The same friends who got spooked out of Mogollon. Nothing happened the next 3 nights. The following year in a deer hunt in that same camper but in the Sacramento forest, we had a less frightening experience. On the final night of the hunt, my brother-in-law and I went on a dusk drive. Coming to the end of shooting light, we got back to camp finding my dad and my girlfriend looking into the woods with their guns in hand. They said they heard a loud thud and footsteps coming from the ridge above camp and then in the trees passing the camp about 50 yards away. And it was quiet for several minutes, so my dad and brother-in-law left to their hunting cabin. Within minutes, we heard the same heavy footsteps just outside the lantern light further to the east. Right after we heard these footsteps, she saw stationary UFO lights over White Sands missile range to the west. We stared at the lights for a minute. Then a groan and heavy footsteps on the opposite side of us drove us into the RV. Out went the lantern, and with pistols in hand, we were back in the RV, locking ourselves in. We said our Lord's Prayer out loud, and then nothing happened after that. Smooth sailing home the next day as our hunt ended. A week later, we were out walking our dogs and saw those same UFO lights. Same style, same stationary, blinking then moving across the horizon lights. Only this time we're at our home north of Las Cruces, west of White Sands, 90 plus miles from our hunting camp. New Mexico and its people in it are full of experiences like this, and I'm sure many others have far more intense and interesting experiences. Listening to you and the people compelled me to share so we can collect data and find the patterns. I do my best to keep the truth flowing, and I'm not shy to have these conversations with strangers from all around the world. To quote Scarface, all I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. There you go. Here comes Sarah. John 3:21. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. Being truthful is a discipline. Thank you to you, Steve, and to everyone at the round table who is truthful. Thank you for sharing our truth. God bless all of you. And you too, man. Appreciate that email and all those shares, and I'm sure the Arizona 4 is curious to hear what you experienced. And they just did, I'll guarantee that. Well, there you go. The dog with the deer antlers. That's a skinwalker, huh? Sounds creepy. Well, here comes my angler partner. I better get up and start casting. You ready to go? All right, let's get some fish on the hook. Let's read some emails.
Oh, did you?
How was exercising?
Perfect.
All right.
Oh, how was it?
Yeah.
Good. Now that it's done.
All right. Let's see you catch a fish. I'll finish this video up back at the ranch. Let's go. Wouldn't that be crazy if you hooked one right now? So is this all you're thinking about exercising, was coming back fishing?
I was trying to hurry up and finish.
Yeah, look at her go. The savage angler. All right, back at it.
All right, back in the man cave. It's too hot out there now. Sun's up. Still waiting for my truck to get done. Holy shit. Apparently it's out front of the shop. I just phoned there. The young guy said, well, I drove it out of the shop, but he's got to wait for the big mechanic to get back and phone me, so I cannot make plans. Frustrating. And then we had a flat in Sarah's car when we went walking back up from the pier. And I broke one of the new fishing rods in the trunk of her car. It's one of those afternoons. And my neighbor's got his excavator going, but you guys said, somebody said it wasn't loud, so we'll keep going here and finish up. Next email. No names, please. Black Panthers. R.E. Black Panthers, okay? Steve, good morning. No names, please. Oh, hold on. With most things in my life, I fall into the, quote, don't give a shit what people think, end quote, category, but my current employer is the one that can make anyone give a shit. I'm from southern Florida. What some call a cracker, or a gladesman. I've hunted, fished, camped, and hiked all my life. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I have a degree in ecology in which I studied big game ecology, wildlife ecology, fire ecology, and biology, among many other natural science disciplines. I've spent about 20 years of my adult life working as a wildlife biologist and wetland ecologist. I'm certainly not the end-all be-all of outdoorsmen, but I can hold my own with anyone. In the woods is where I find my peace. I've had single jobs in which I've spent thousands of hours in the woods, let alone all my life hunting the backwoods of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. You've had some recent emails about black panthers. The North American mountain lion, panther, cougar, etc., is all the same animal. Puma concolor. And they are tan or tawny, not black. There is no such thing as a black panther. There are jaguars that can be nearly black, but not panthers. Now, I have seen enough weird shit in my life to never discount what someone says they have seen. I've seen ghosts. I've heard bipedal footsteps outside my tent, and had a finger run across the top of my tent, and heard the screams of no known local animal while sitting in a tree stand. So when someone says they saw a black panther, I believe they did see what their mind perceives to be a black panther. Whether a black-phased jaguar, which would need to have escaped from a zoo or private wildlife collector, or a, quote, W, end quote, or some other supernatural entity, you can rest assured that a black panther it was not. There's no such cat. Hope this helps someone reach a conclusion of what they actually saw. Keep up the good work, getting we the people heard. Regards. All right. Interesting you can't have your name with that attached with that email. There's nothing threatening there, unless you're not allowed to be listening to people talk about these other people that live in the forest. Interesting. And then coincidentally, the very next email in the inbox, I'm not kidding you, was titled Real Black Panther Pics. I'm not kidding. I can't make this shit up. I wanted to mail you the hard copy, but I cannot find your address. All right. These were taken in central Louisiana, south central U.S. If you would provide a P.O. box, I'd be happy to send them to you. I do not trust the powers that be. I prefer to send snail mail and hard copies, sir. I've had a good number of run-ins with beings of this world and others. And oh, by the way, the school mascot here is the Black Panther, both the elementary school and the high school. I'm 57. I really don't give an F what people think of my opinion. Rock on, Steve, and remember, the ultimate hunter are the ones that think and hunt us. Why, my USMC training has been priceless. Semper Fi, brother. All right, here we go. So these are hard photos. Here's a one I'll show here, just like this. It's easy, right? There's both of them. As a dump truck is dumping a load of gravel 25 meters from me. Interesting. That's definitely no house cat in the bottom. That head resembles that of a lion, the top one, doesn't it? The shape. That's not the shape of a cougar. Huh. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. There you go. Coincidentally, so the very next email in the inbox, fresh off the pan, out of the pan, and into our fire. Now,